The Italian Wine Podcast is the community-driven platform for Italian wine geeks around the world. Support the show by donating at ItalianWinePodcast.com. Donate €5 or more and we'll send you a copy of our latest book, My Italian Grape Geek Journal, absolutely free. To get your free copy of My Italian Grape Geek Journal, click Support Us at ItalianWinePodcast.com or wherever you get your pods. Grazie mille. Official media partner, the Italian Wine Podcast, is delighted to present a series of interviews and highlights from the 2023 Wine2wine Business Forum, featuring Italian wine producers and bringing together some of the most influential voices in the sector to discuss the hottest topics facing the industry today. Don't forget to tune in every Thursday at 3 p.m. or visit theitalianwinepodcast.com for more information.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for this session today. I'll move back a bit, about the UK fine wine market. My name is Hermione Ireland. I'm the Managing Director and Publisher of the Académie du Vin Library, which was Stephen Spurrier's publishing company. We were founded 5 years ago to publish the best wine writing, and we've got books in the book corner, and I shall be there most of the time, so please come and say hello. And I'm very pleased to introduce a colleague, Adam and Claudio, who also has joined us from the UK. I'll introduce Claudio first. Claudio has lived in London for 10 years. He originally came over as a sommelier, where he worked at the Savoy Grill and at Maze for Gordon Ramsay. He also did a stint at Christie's, but he these days he's the trade analyst at the Italian Trade Agency in London. He's obviously passionate about Italian wines and promoting them, and he organises lots of events. He helps Vin Italy and 5-Star Wine Awards, and he brought all of the delegation over from the UK for this event. And he's going to be talking to you about some Italian wine trends in the UK market. Adam Lechmere is a journalist. He also works with me at the Académie du Vin Library. He's the contributing editor to Club Onologique, and he also runs the Académie du Vin Foundation, which is a charity dedicated to improving diversity in wine and hospitality worldwide. He was formerly the editor of Decanter.com, which he launched in 2000, and he's been writing about wine for nearly 25 years, including Decanter, World of Fine Wine, Meiningers, JaneAnson.com, The Guardian, and other publications. And he launched Club Onologique in 2018. He's interviewed many top winemakers. He's a generalist, but he considers his areas of expertise particularly to be Spain, California, and Italy. And he worked for the BBC back in the day before he got the wine bug, and has worked as a travel writer and all over the world. So without further ado, I will pass you on to Claudio.
Thank you, Hermione. Good afternoon all. I'm Claudio. I work at the Italian Trade Agency, which is the governmental agency that supports the Italian business to promote abroad, also promotes the attraction of the foreign investment in Italy. And I'm based in the London office, which oversee the UK and Irish markets. So as Hermione has already mentioned, I'll give you a quick overview of the Italian wine market in the UK. In Italy, there are 700,000 hectares of vineyards, and according to data from the Italian Trade Agency 2023, exports generated at around 8 billion euros for Italy, which is 80% plus on total sales abroad in the last decade. As you can see from the slide, which is now working, on the laptop, yeah. Yeah, as you can see from the slide, the UK is obviously an important market destination for the wine industry, being the third after USA and Germany in 2022. And now it's working. And the major four countries that export to the UK are Italy, France, Spain, and Australia. Like any other country, the volume of wine in the UK imports and sales into the country are obviously influenced by a range of factors, including economic conditions, global wine production trends, and consumer preferences. For instance, since June 2022, total sales of wines and spirits in the UK have declined as businesses and consumers faced mounting cost pressures. I'll come back on this a bit later. Over the last 10 years, anyway, Italy has consistently been one of the top exporters, wine exporters to the UK, with its market share performing steadily at around 20% in total wine volume and values exported to the country. So,
Italian Wine Podcast, brought to you by Mama Jumbo Shrimp.
What the UK consumer need and want, and how we can continue to make Italian wine. A success in the UK. So the success of the Italian wine in the UK is a combination of a range of factors. The first one is the diversity. Consumers appreciate the Italian diverse wine offerings, and they're starting to value also the terroir and Italy's long winemaking tradition and history also contribute to this appeal. With its range of grape varieties and wine regions, Italy allows consumers to explore different styles and flavors. So from Nero d'Avola from Sicily to the beloved Chianti, there are great choices for consumers in the UK. There's been also growth and success in sales of Italian wines that have been fueled by the surge in popularity of some grape varieties like Pinot Grigio and Prosecco, as well as a broader appreciation of premium Italian wines like Nebbiolo from Langhe, Greco, Falanghina, Vermentino, Vernaccia, and fine wines like Barolo, Amarone, Brunello, and Mount Etna also, which are known for their quality and their craftsmanship. Barolo, for instance, has offered, lately, an invaluable opportunity. It's paving the way, let's say, for other Italian wines because of its higher price tag, has helped to change the perceived quality of the Italian wines. So the consumers now, in a sense, feel also more confident in ordering other different Italian wines and different grape varieties. And another factor to the success of Italian wines is the UK love for Italian cuisine and food pairing. In fact, Italy's wines are known for their food pairing versatility and continue to perform well, especially in the on-trade. Looking back at the pandemic period, we can see also that consumers would stay at home to eat. They started to buy more online, and wine sales showed up. And when buying online, consumers also felt more adventurous in their wine choices. And so did also investors and collectors in the auction world, as they started to buy more exotic wines from Italy and USA, moving from diversifying their portfolios from the classics, Burgundy and Bordeaux. Now the post-pandemic sales of fine wine at auctions have returned more French-centric, but the Italian wines sold at auctions also represent a point of reference. Of course, Italian producers have to remember that investors and collectors are more inclined to buy fine wines that won acclaim by international leading wine critics. Now, moving on, another factor contributing to the success of Italian wines is also the affordable price. Many Italian grape varieties, including Pinot Grigio and Prosecco, sorry to repeat, these two grapes are very Dolcetto, Negramaro, let's say, they are competitively priced and offer excellent value for money. And British people, for instance, they consume Prosecco more because of its versatility and affordable price point, and they buy it also to celebrate, to get together, but as also, in a sense, a touch of luxury, despite being affordable. So overall, in the UK, we've seen also a shift towards sparkling wine consumption, and off the back of the Prosecco success, now we see other sparkling wines, including the OCG Prosecco, resonate more with customers despite their higher prices. Like Trento DOC, or we have sparkling wines from Campania, Sicily, Lombardy, that provide elegance at a price point which is less than champagne, making them attractive options in the on-trade especially. On the other hand, champagne have continued to slow down due to its higher price. So up to here, I've given you a picture of how Italian wines are doing in the UK market and what consumers value. Now I'd like to explore with you the challenges the UK wine market faces now. The situation is complicated. There's been a decline in total wine volume imports into the UK, but the total values are higher, which means, at least in the case of Italy, an average higher price, especially for still wines. So since June 2022, according to the latest figures, there's been also a decline in total wine and spirit sales in the country, in both value and volume, as businesses and consumers face mounting cost pressures. And economic factors like rising inflation, rising energy costs, cost of livings, have affected the consumers' purchasing power. And now, this could mean also that the consumers are making different choices or they are changing their drinking habits due to the financial pressure they're facing. And furthermore, in August, as you may know, the reform of excise duties was introduced by the government with the aim to discourage the harmful consumption of alcohol. Still wine is particularly affected by this new duty, but on the other hand, sparkling wine will enjoy a lower excise duty. So it could be argued that sparkling wine will benefit from this, possibly leading to more imports, bigger exports into the UK. So despite the challenges, I sense anyway a sense of optimism. I think the future is promising anyway for Italian wines in the UK. And there are several factors that are contributing to this optimism. First of all, the food-friendly nature. The Italian wines are known for their food friendliness and making them a natural choice for a range of cuisines. And this is expected to continue to drive their popularity. We mentioned already the affordable options, like Chianti, and also there is in the off-trade, 6 to 9 pounds bottle segment, which is where most of the UK demand in the off-trade lies, and Italian wines are set to be competitive also across various wine types within this range. And British consumers are now more educated post-pandemic about wine and are more health conscious and look for more quality products. So the trend is shifting towards also prioritizing quality over quantity, and they may choose to invest in better quality option. And it's worth mentioning also that the natural wine movement has driven the demand also for organic and biodynamic wines. The e-commerce platforms experienced a boost during the pandemic, and their upward trajectory is set to continue as suppliers have either switched or implemented online selling channels for both trade clients and end consumers. And the pandemic experience revealed also the resilience of the wine sales in retail despite the challenging times, suggesting the overall strength of the retail sector, which was fueled by the consumers' joy of buying their favorite wines. Until now, I've spoken of the complexity and diversity of the Italian wines as a good thing. It is, but it is actually also a weakness, because too much choice can put consumer off if they don't know where to start. So how do they get to know to so many varieties? One answer could be that the Brits love Italy. I'm very proud of that. It's one of their favorite tourist destinations, and many classic and loved TV programs are centered around the country's culture and food. Only this year, for instance, the BBC has launched 3 TV series about Italy for their prime-time audience, and they are presented by household names like Amanda and Alan's in The Italian Job, Anton and Giovanni's Adventures in Sicily, and Clive Murray's Italian Road Trip, where they showcase the Italian traditions, arts, and regional enogastronomic culture. And a trip to a winery is almost unmissable. So tourists visiting a specific Italian region will drink wines from the region when there, and on holiday they may feel more adventurous and try new wines which are readily available, and they carry the memory back to the UK, and they will try to find the same wine. So it's a bond. We need to keep that bond alive, also because it gives them, to the customer, an holiday feeling. So this direct link between the countries is very important, and Italy has an identity which I think is the best selling point. A wider consideration about Italian wines and their future is climate change, although it's difficult to predict the effect it will have on wine production globally. It is a challenge for country traditionally producing wine. And while some of the established countries are looking or are already planting Mediterranean varieties which will withstand better an increase in temperature, Italy, it could be more in a place which guarantee a better, how do you say? So Italy, for its configuration of the landscape, made for the 70% of hills and mountains, can rely, at least in the short foreseeable future, on its indigenous grapes that have been demonstrated to withstand better the heat. So, as Italian trade agency, as Hermione was mentioning, we organize a lot of activities in the UK. Borsa Vini Italiani is our main event throughout the calendar year. Is a one-day trade testing where wineries showcase their products, and we aim to strengthen the connection between Italian producer and the UK market. And we promote the diversity and variety of Italian wine, offering to local trade operators, guiding them through the 500 and counting autochthonous Italian grapes. I think that trade operators in the UK should be adventurous, as the consumers demonstrated to be, also with their online choices. The Italian trade agency comes in with this matchmaking role, presenting innovative offerings to the UK market. To achieve this, I think efforts are required from all fronts, from all industry and trade associations, consortia, governing bodies representing the specific territory, also the private organizations. They should all work in the same direction as they already do, with the principal objective of promoting the image of a multifaceted, majestic, and authentic Italy. Yeah, I think, I'll pass over to Adam with his.
Thank you very much, Claudio. Can I have the...
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much. Could we have my slides, please? Here we go. Good afternoon, everybody. The fine wine market in the UK. Let's have a look at a definition of a fine wine to start with. I'm not going to give you lots of stats and graphs, etc., but just an overall look at what the fine wine market looks like. Now, a fine wine, one that has heritage and critical acclaim, is directly traceable to its vineyards and an individual winemaker, bottled at the property, made in limited quantities, capable of long aging, and crucially, has resale value. It works in the secondary market. You all know this. The UK has is dominated by a handful of big players. These are the big five London merchants: Berry Brothers and Rudd, Corney and Barrow, Just Arenas, Farr Vintners, Fine and Rare. And there are many, many others, specialist entrepreneur and investment merchants like Oino, Crew World Wine, dozens of well-established and highly regarded players, Jascots, Good House, Burgundy Specialists, Ripley Fine Wines, Lay and Wheeler, Flint, Stannery, Chelsea Vintners. Now, what I thought I'd do was have a home in on Corney and Barrow, just to have a look at what one of the biggest London wine merchants looks like. Established in 1780, it's about 100 years younger than its two major competitors, Justerini and Brooks and Berry Brothers. Has a turnover of around about 94 million, less than half the size of Berry's and a bit bigger than Justerini's. It's a multinational operation, offices in Edinburgh, Hong Kong, Singapore, Shanghai, a couple of shops. It's just built a £4 million warehouse in Scotland. It's agent for these wines here, Petrus, DRC, Comte Georges de Vogue, Le Flave, etc. So you can see Berry's, Corney's is a formidable operation. Now, all fine wine merchants are similar in many ways. Their customer base, wealthy, international, into collecting and possibly investing in wine, predominantly male. We'll talk about that later. Many will live in a different country from the one they were born in. They'll travel frequently for work. They'll take 3 or 4 foreign holidays a year. They'll work in finance, government, medicine, assorted academic fields, media. Monocle magazine rather nicely described this kind of person as someone, quote, someone who is on the hunt for opportunities, and they're cash rich and time poor. Now, if the merchant's customer base is similar, their operations are very different. For example, Berry Brothers and Rudd, heavily invested in online. Berry Brothers has its broking platform, BBX. Berry Brothers had a very sophisticated website in 1994. Now, we launched Decanter.com in 1999, which seemed early for a website. 94 was very early to have a working website. Other wine merchants prize personal contact, personal service above everything. Later on, I'm quoting Giles Cooper of the specialist wine merchant Chelsea Vintners, who told me, "We are ruthlessly committed to minimizing how much we do online." More on that later. Let's look at the health of the fine wine market. The stock market is volatile. Fine wine is not. Now we have a quote from HSBC Bank from their report in September this year. Fine wine is the leading passion asset, with a recent survey reporting that 96% of UK wealth managers expect demand for fine wine to increase, outperforming other luxury assets. Let's look at that slide in a minute. So the solidity of fine wine as an investment has been an article of faith since I was in short trousers. Blue chip Bordeaux, Burgundy, Napa have long been considered the epitome of robust, stable growth and resistance to recession. Let's have a quick look. This is Sotheby's from their market report on 2022. This was released in March 2023. So 2022 was a record year for sales at Sotheby's. You can see there that they did 158 million total sales in 2022, compared, looking back to 2013, 58 million. We don't need to spend too much time on the Sotheby's chart there, but robust and stable indeed. Sotheby's is just embarking on a series of glittering wine sales from the cellars of the billionaire Pierre Chen. 25,000 bottles, valued at 50 million. So that's robustness for you. But it's notable how the downturn and the various crises afflicting the world at the moment have affected the fine wine market as it relates to the merely rich and not the super rich. Now, these are LiveX figures here. So all the major LiveX indices recorded declines during quarter three this year. So in the past year, looking at the Standard & Poor 500, that increased by 17.7%. The Dow Jones Industrial increased by 16.7%. LiveX 50, which is their basket of the 50 most traded wines, decreased by 12.1%. Now, that's very, very unusual for the LiveX 50 to go down. That's LiveX. That's LiveX. Now, the top wines in every market continue to perform well, obviously. Nobody is going to stop buying Domaine de la Romanée-Conti. Nobody's going to stop buying the top Rolex watches or the top luxury assets. But you hear, in contrast, the fine wine market, the top end, is absolutely stable. At the one rung down, looking at the super seconds, looking at wines like Pontet Canet, looking at Trolong Mondo, looking at Chateau Pavie in Bordeaux, more sluggish. While blue chip Bordeaux, Champagne and Burgundy are strong in the long term, the super seconds are just kicking along, one investment manager told me. Now, you hear this constantly. On the way here, I was talking to the managing director of a London importer. Actually, it was Regine, who gave the brilliant AI talk just now, who said that the summer had been very difficult for their fine wine clients. And she described the downturn as a correction. Pauline Vicar of the think tank Arani put it like this. She said, if 2022 was like the roaring 20s, 2023 was more like 1929. But fine wine continues to fascinate investors. Witness the increased interest in Italian wines. Now, this is another LiveX chart. And this is quite interesting in that this is their most in-demand Italian wines by the number of bids, 2022. So you'll see that the first six wines there have already appeared in the Italy 100, but the next five, starting at the Barbaresco there, those haven't appeared in the LiveX 100 before. So there are new fine Italian wines coming into the market, here is LiveX again. This is the top five performing investment wines out of all wines in the LiveX indices in quarter three this year. So you'll see there, as I've highlighted, you've got three Italian wines, all from Piemonte, all in the top five top performing wines in quarter three 2023. Let's move on quickly. I know I'm going fast, but there's a lot to get through. How are we doing for time? We're looking okay. In the on-trade, the picture is just as nuanced. The pandemic obviously had a seismic effect on the on-trade. Restaurants account for 30% of total European wine sales. Now, in the UK, 14% of restaurants closed permanently as a result of the pandemic. 6% of Michelin-starred restaurants closed. The City of London, Birmingham, Britain's second biggest city, and Glasgow were worst affected. Now, as a result of all the economic problems they're having, restaurants have adapted their wine lists, whereas price and quality were the main two criteria for listing a wine. Sommeliers have added a third, sustainability. Wine lists are shorter. There's been a drop of 2.2% in the number of references on wine lists across the world. Restaurants that made it through the pandemic appear to be making major changes to their organizations as well as changes to their wine lists. As everybody knows, one of the major problems since the pandemic is staffing shortages. In the UK, we have the additional problem of Brexit, which has caused major staffing shortages. So, anecdotally, some of the changes restaurants are making. If you look at the original reasons for listing a wine in terms of price, in terms of availability, adding this third line, sustainability. Here we have Watson Brown of 11 Madison Park. Through our wine menu, we need to tell stories of what is happening in the world right now. So I'm choosing to pour the wines that help people understand different value systems are possible. So what characteristics do wine consumers have in common with everyday consumer, a supermarket consumer? How invested are they, for example, in sustainability, in natural wine? How important is packaging? How important are heavy bottles to the average fine wine consumer? We know these things are of vital importance to the younger generation. Similarly, sustainability. This is a subject considered so important that the Wine Society has just launched its Sustainability Hub. And now you all know the Wine Society, obviously, and its Sustainability Hub has really quite serious articles on things like the 2023 Bottle Weight Accord and the ins and outs of regenerative viticulture. Now, that's obviously important to somebody who buys wine at the Wine Society. How important is it to a fine wine consumer? Well, not very. Here again, I'm quoting my friend Giles of Chelsea Vintners. So he says, organic, the top producers have been doing that for years. They're already artisan. Omar Rafat, head of fine wine at Jascott's, which 100% supplies the on-trade. If organic and biodynamic were really important to fine wine diners, then you'd see it on wine lists, and you don't. Rebecca Palmer, Associate Director at Corney & Barrow, it's almost expected that fine wines from the classic regions will be organic and or biodynamic. It would not be a barrier to sale if a producer were not. So, if for the younger generation, sustainability is becoming more important, particularly in the on-trade, Rebecca then adds there is growing consumer awareness around sustainable packaging, but not for their traditional fine wine buyers. So there's a very definite divide between the generations. Corney & Barrow, and any fine wine merchant of the same size and type, has an ageing customer base. To survive, they must respect and cater to their over 55s, while at the same time not alienating young, up-and-coming collectors and consumers. So if fine wine is slow to catch on to the trends that are affecting the rest of the wine world, perhaps it needs to open its eyes. Sainsbury's, for example, has just predicted that 25% of the UK population will be vegan by 2025. Now, I don't know what the percentage of fully vegan people in the UK is at the moment, but I don't think it'll be 25% in 2 years. But veganism is very much a thing in fine dining. It's not just 11 Madison Park and Geranium that are vegan. There are at least 6 Michelin-starred restaurants that have serious vegan offerings. These include Raymond Blanc's Belmont, Le Manoir, Pollen Street Social in London, Gidley Park in Devon. And if you're in any doubt as to the growing importance of the low and no alcohol movement, have a look at the restaurants and hotels that list Matthew Jukes's Cordialities range of non-alcoholic vinegar-based drinks. 21 Michelin-starred restaurants in the UK carry his non-alcoholic drinks. And these include restaurants like Dinner by Heston Blumenthal, Core by Claire Smith, Oswald's, The Wolseley, A. Wong, The Groucho, Alain Ducasse. The move towards lower alcohol, sustainable, good for the planet wines is only increasing. And the hip young architects in East London who go to natural wine bars, who are totally au fait with all the language of natural wine, they talk about wild yeast ferment, they talk about unfined wines, they talk about non-filtered wines, they talk about funky wines. These are the white tablecloth fine wine diners of the next few years. Now, I was going to talk about the pandemic, but I think as time is moving on, and we need to take some questions, and I think Claudio has covered the pandemic very well. I don't think we need to go on about that. I think we'll just move on to the future for fine wine. Now, climate change, survival of the fittest. Those wineries that are most adapted through the grape varieties they use and by virtue of their geography, are they higher? Are they nearer the ocean? We're going to see new grape varieties coming in. We're going to see new regions. I've lost count of the number of times Italy is mentioned as the most exciting region for fine wine. And we've seen this in my previous graphs. In Italy, the centre of gravity is going to shift away from the traditional most collectible fine wine regions. Cooler, higher regions are going to be of more importance across the world. Sonoma, Etna, Patagonia. In the recent issue of Club Enologique, Jim Clark, the wine writer Jim Clark, mentions 5 new Italian wine regions that collectors need to have on their radar, many of them chosen for their altitude. In Spain, in Australia, Chile, Argentina. In Club Enologique again, I interview Alberto Antonini, the great consultant, who's busy planting vineyards in the most marginal parts of Patagonia, places where it's common to see penguins pattering among the vines. Now, these are not fine wines by many of the criteria that I set out at the beginning. They don't have, they're hardly out in the market at the moment. They don't have existence in the secondary market, for example. But this is what the fine wine world, which is very, very slow to move, needs to take account of. That these wines are going to be coming on the market. Sustainability. As we've seen, sustainability is it's not an issue in the fine wine world at the moment. I was in a cab with a couple of colleagues yesterday who said to me, how many times do I actually look at sustainability as a criterion when I'm buying any kind of wine? I don't. It'd be quite interesting actually to have a show of hands from the audience. This will check that you're still awake as well. Who uses sustainability as a criterion when they're buying wine of any level? Is that all? 3, 4 people. Yeah, it's incredible. But look how seriously the top restaurants are taking this. Look how seriously the top restaurants are taking their vegan offering. Remember, the traditional fine wine, the traditional collector, the traditional fine wine buyer, the traditional fine wine consumer, I should say, they might not be interested, but they are a dying breed. There's a whole new cohort of fine wine buyers coming up. So there's going to be focus on the most sustainable wines. There's going to be focus on the healthiest wines. Biodynamic and organic are going to take centre stage. I've been editing and writing for 20 years on wine, and the whole idea of sustainability. And we used to go around wineries, and they'd say, "Do you want to see our wastewater treatment plant?" And we'd say, "Yes," but we'd mean no. Sustainability has always been a really, really difficult question a really difficult subject to interest consumers in, and more importantly, to interest editors in. But it is becoming more and more important. It's obviously very, very important in world terms, but it's becoming more and more of an issue for editors as well. We're going to see many more articles coming up on sustainability. In terms of technology, I won't go into AI because many of you, I'm sure all of you, were in the talk by Regine just now. But AI is another technology shaping the wine industry. AI-powered platforms will be able to analyze market trends, historical pricing data, enabling investors to make more informed decisions. That is going to bring in a new and younger cohort of collectors. Trading platforms are going to increase accessibility. They're going to bring more and younger investors into the fine wine market. We're going to see new consumers. We're going to see more women. In terms of the fine wine investment, recent data suggests that women are increasingly participating in wine auctions, in private sales, in cellar acquisitions. Auction houses have reported a notable increase in the number of female buyers and bidders. And this challenges the stereotype of wine investment as a predominantly male pursuit. And that trend is repeated when it comes to the under-35s. So, just to wind up, the fine wine landscape is changing, and it's a change accelerated by the pandemic, by geopolitical events. But it's very, very important to note that in wine, everything moves very, very slowly. The key thing to remember, as I've said, is that the noisy, diverse, dynamic younger generation are, in the words of the market experts, quote, flexible consumers rather than category loyalists. They prize authenticity, sustainability, low carbon footprint, lighter and recyclable bottles, organically or biodynamically produced wines. At the moment, they're still sitting on benches, on stripped pine tables, in natural wine bars all over the world. But many of them are the fine wine buyers of tomorrow. So we need to take note of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, Cin Cin.